Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome back to Congregation Kol Ami and the celebration of the Sabbath, our cathedral in time, where we return to the beginning, only hopefully it's a little better as we start over again with a new week and we find that we progress in time and we progress in spirit as we go. So we're going to begin, as we always do, by reconnecting as a community and getting some good and blessings, some reports of what's been going on. We've all been scattered throughout the week, doing our different things, pursuing our own goals, and it's always good to hear how everyone is doing, what everyone is doing. So I'm going to begin with a few things here and then give you time to think and find that little bit of gratitude you have for something that's happened to you in the past 6 days. We're going to start with birthdays. Jean Charney and Connie Kruger and Stephen DeBrow and Cassie Meyer are all celebrating birthdays this past week. We also have a fair number of anniversaries. James and Jennifer Brown, Steve and Robbie Gelman, Steve and Ruth Dubner, and Joel Loeb and Susan Halsey. So we want to wish every one of them a mazel tov for making it around the planet or making it around their relationship one more year. And so starting over on this side, anybody have any good and blessing to report? Any tov uvracha, something nice that's happened to you in the past week? Nothing nice has happened to you. Is your daughter visiting with you?
For the summer.
There you go. See, this isn't hard. Anybody else? That counts, right? You know, I got to have a nice pastrami sandwich this week. That counts.
We'll be celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary on the 23rd.
Mazel tov. Yeah, no, that's great. Yes. And congratulations to you. You are now nigh invincible. You know, you are biologically immortal now. So that's for the good. Who else has a good and blessing to share with us? Harold.
I feel blessed to have the opportunity last Sunday to put flags out on Jewish graves for veterans.
Wonderful. Yes. So a very nice, both a mitzvah and an American virtue. That's wonderful. Even better. It's a lot of fun to hang out with the BSA and do these sort of things. So that's great that you were doing that. Anything for you, Tanya?
My sister is visiting tonight, and I haven't seen her in over a year.
There you go. And I would say that, in fact, the renewal of visitors is probably at the top of my list. Got to see Susan Colin. And in addition to that, now Terry, many of you know Terry, Robin's friend Terry from Albuquerque, is out visiting with us for about 5 days. And so she took Robin out and, ran her hot and brought her wet and put her back in the stable, and she's exhausted now. So, but they're having a good time together. So that's great. So is that, anybody else have anything they want to share before we go forward? Yes, Donald.
It's good to be back here.
It's good to see your family and to know that you guys are doing great. We're glad you're here. All right, with that, we're going to start with a little nigun, and then I'm going to be inviting up Deb Fripp to kindle the lights of Shabbat. So.
Ya lai 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 lai. Ya lai 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 lai. Ya lai 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 lai. Ya lai 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 lai. Ya lai 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 lai
And now to make that transition to the Sabbath, it's my privilege to invite up Deborah Fripp to kindle the lights of Shabbat with Esther to help out and able assistance. Yes, the blessings are, there's a reading right there.
Okay,
And just follow that.
and we're using this candle to light.
And you use that candle as a shamash, as it were.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their heart. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu b'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
All right, we're going to continue by welcoming the Sabbath with prayers and songs. We're going to begin on page 130 with Psalm 95, Lechuna Ranena.
Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, l'Adonai. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, Adonai. Naria, naria, letzui sheinu, id matana betoda. Naria, naria, letzui sheinu, bismirot naria lo. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, Adonai. Lechune ranena, lechune ranena, lechune ranena, Adonai.
We continue with Psalm 96. The English is on page 132. When it's indented, that's an invitation for you to join in. Sing to Adonai a new song. Sing to Adonai all the earth. Sing to Adonai and bless God's name. Proclaim God's victory day after day. Tell of God's glory among the nations, God's wondrous deeds among all peoples. For Adonai is great and much acclaimed. God is held in awe by all divine creatures. All the gods of the people are mere idols, but Adonai made the heavens. Glory and majesty are before God. Splendor and strength are in God's temple. Together, let the heavens rejoice and the earth exalt. Let the sea and all within it thunder. The fields and everything in them exalt. And then shall all the trees of the forest shout for joy at the presence of Adonai. For God is coming. God is coming to rule the earth and rule the world and its peoples faithfully. All right, we continue now to page 136, Psalm 29. Mizmor LeDavid. Havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, havu l'Adonai kavod v'oz, havu l'Adonai kavod shemo, ishtachavu l'Adonai b'hadrat kodesh. A psalm of David. Ascribe to Adonai, O divine beings. Ascribe to Adonai glory and strength. Ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name. Bow down to Adonai, majestic in holiness. The voice of Adonai is over the waters. The God of glory thunders. Adonai over the mighty waters. The voice of Adonai is power. The voice of Adonai is majesty. The voice of Adonai breaks cedars. Adonai shatters the cedars of Lebanon. And God makes the Lebanon skip like a calf, and Syrian like a young wild ox. The voice of Adonai kindles flames of fire. The voice of Adonai convulses the wilderness. Adonai convulses the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of Adonai caused hinds to calve and strips the forest bare, while in God's temple all cried, glory. Adonai sat enthroned on the flood. Adonai sits enthroned, sovereign forever. May Adonai grant strength to God's people. May Adonai bestow upon God's people well-being. We're going to continue now with Lecha Dodi, and I am going to call on Michael and Don to be our gatekeepers to welcome the Sabbath when we reach the final stanza. So if you go to page 138, Lecha Dodi, we're going to be doing stanzas 1, 5, and 9.
Lecha dodi li takala, b'nei Shabbat nekala. Lecha dodi li takala, b'nei Shabbat nekala. Lecha dodi li takala, b'nei Shabbat nekala. Shabbat nekamela, shamor vezachor bedibur echad, ishmiyanu elcham yukad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemu tiferet v'tfilah. Lecha dodi likrakala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrakala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mikor hamracha lerosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'mlachat tila. Lecha dodi likrakala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrakala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoriri, hitoriri, ki ba'orech u'mi'ori, uri, uri, shir daberi, kivod Adonai ala kivnika. Lecha dodi likrakala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrakala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Ohi v'shalom ateret pana, gam b'simcha u'kola, toch emunei am segula, mo'ichala, mo'ichala. Lecha dodi likrakala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrakala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
So enter in peace, O crown of your husband. Enter in gladness. Enter in joy. Come to the people that keeps its faith. Enter, O Shabbat. Enter, O bride. We continue now with Psalm 92. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Tov L'Hodot L'Adonai. We continue to celebrate. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, and to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a 10-string harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai, and I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai, how very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know A fool cannot understand this. The righteous bloom like a date palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai. They flourish in the courts of our God. In old age, they still produce fruit. They are full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, my rock, and in there is no wrong. I invite you now to turn to page 144 for the Hatzi Kaddish as we transition into our evening service.
בעלמא דבירך ירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב במהרו אמן יחי שמך במבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל בחירתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמא במהרו אמן.
Entrances to holiness are everywhere, and the possibility of ascent is all the time. Even at unlikely times and in thoroughly unlikely places, there is no place on earth without the presence. We continue now with the Baruch Hu on page 146. If you're able, please rise in body or spirit. Baruch Hu.
Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach le'olam va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
We continue at the top of page 149. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way in which time and seasons glide. Your breath guides the sails of the stars, and creator of the tide of time and light, your guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim, ahavat olam, and everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments, and we will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We continue with the Shema on page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
You may be seated as we continue with the V'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך וחיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבדך ודיברת בם בשבתך ביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשבחך ובקומך וקשרתם להוד על ידיך וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We continue with Emet ve'emunah on page 156. The template for all our future hope was our deliverance at Egypt, and so it is we continue to invoke that image, that in the future all people may one day be free. All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and Savior who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels without count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You perform miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. And when your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously in the Micha Mocha, page 158.
Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai Mi kamocha nedad b'kodesh Torah tehilot oseh pele Torah tehilot oseh pele Malchutcha ba'umanecha Bo'hi hayam lifnei Moshe Zeili anu ve'amru Zeili anu ve'amru Adonai himno le'olam va'ed Adonai himno le'olam va'ed Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai Mi chamocha nedad b'kodesh Torah tehilot oseh pele Torah tehilot oseh pele
Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming the people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. We turn now for our prayer of peace in the evening. We're going to look at the second page on the odd page 161 in the middle of the page. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God, and bring us into shelter in the long, soft, cool evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai hafores sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue now with a prayer for Shabbat. We're going to be singing Vishamru on the top of page 162.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We're going to continue now with the Amidah, beginning on page 164. We're going to be on the even numbered pages until I think we get to 168. So with that, to 170. So ladies and gentlemen, according to your ability, rise in heart or rise in body. Adonai sefatati tahu fi adita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Ha'gadol Ha'gibor V'Hanorah, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Zodim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zoher HaSteot V'Imot, Umevi Gulam Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo V'Avam, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atah L'Mashiach, Mechayei Chaim V'Chesed, Mechayei HaKol V'Rachamim Rabim, Tzomech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umechayei Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamota Ba'al V'Churos, Umida Umelam, Melech Me'it Umechayei, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kedoshim b'kol yom ychalu v'asela, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. Where might I go to find you, exalted and hidden one? Yet where would I not go to find you, ever-present eternal one? My heart cries out to you. Please draw near to me. The moment I reach out for you, I find you reaching in for me. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Top of page 173. Together, may these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies the Sabbath. We continue now with Reit Say on page 175 in the middle. You are with us in our prayer, in our love and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and to do your will. You are the clear, still voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another and to all Israel and all who seek you. May all who seek you find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai she'otecha levadcha be'ira na'avod. You alone do we serve with reverence. Page 77. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us, so filled with beauty, and for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer our thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha lecha ne'eh lahodot. We're going to close out this part of our service with a prayer for abundant peace, Shalom Rav, on page 178. And then we're going to take a few moments for our own silent prayers and reflections.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atah hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atah hu melech adon
All right, we turn now our thoughts to the fact that we, for the first time in 3 years, 4 elections, the state of Israel, we first see for the first time a new government. So, what can I say? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tihyeh hametim. Praised are you, Lord our God, who revives the dead. All right, that's so much for contemporary things going on. We're not going to focus on that right now. Instead, we're going to turn to something that probably in the context of Torah itself, our Torah portion this week is one of the most tragic events in the entire Torah. It's also one of the more baffling, because this week's parasha, Lech Lecha, talks to us about how God, maybe it was God, it's a little unclear, God told Moses, or Moses says that it's the people who said this, depending on where you find it, that there should be spies sent out into the land of Israel, an advance reconnoitering, an intelligence investigation, a little knowledge gathering in advance of entering the land. And because of this plan, which seemed like a reasonable anticipatory plan, an entire generation lost the opportunity to enter the land of promise. The entry was delayed for no less than 40 years. Moses told the spies, go, see, look at the land, bring back a report about it. The spies returned with a positive report about the land itself. It is indeed flowing with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. And there followed one of the most famous buts in all of Jewish history. But the people who live there are powerful, and their cities are fortified and very large. We even saw descendants of Anak, that is the descendant of the primordial giants there. These, no doubt, demoralized the people. Now, one of the spies, Caleb, stood up immediately and said with reassurance, we should go. We can take possession of the land. We can certainly do it. However, the other spies insisted, we cannot attack these people. They are stronger than we. All the people we saw there were of very great size. We seemed like grasshoppers. It seemed with the retelling, the inhabitants got larger and larger. And thus far, the narrative. However, it is still a puzzling narrative to understand. How could 10 of the spies come back with such a defeatist attitude? They'd seen with their own eyes how God had sent a series of plagues into Egypt, and how the strongest, the most long-lived empire in all the ancient world was brought to its knees. They had seen the Egyptian army drowned in the sea while the Israelites passed by unmolested. Egypt was far stronger than the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Jesubites, or any of the small petty kingdoms that the Israelites would have to confront when they entered the land. Nor was this an ancient memory. The events, the miracle deliverance from Egypt had happened little more than a year ago. How short were their memories? What is more, they are entirely wrong about the people of the land. We discover this in our Haftarah portion in Joshua, where once again, spies are sent into the land. But this time when Joshua and his spies go to Jericho, a woman sheltering them there describes the people as terrified of the presence of the Israelites. We know that the Lord has given this land to you. A great fear of you has fallen upon us. And not only were the people of Jericho not giants, they were every bit as afraid of the Israelites as the Israelites were afraid of them. Nor was this something that was disclosed only later. In his poem, Crossing the Red Sea, Moses talked about how God will instill fear and trembling in all the nations ahead. So how could they forget after such a short period of time what they already knew? And what is more, these spies were not just average Joes. These were tribal leaders, each one of them selected, men who were called Roshim, heads of the house of the people Israel. So here's what Menachem Mendel Schneerson says about this peculiar behavior, all of this selective forgetfulness. Menachem Mendel Schneerson teaches the spies were not afraid of failure, he said. They were afraid of success. Never, up until this point, had a people lived in such close proximity to God. If they entered the land, their lifestyle, what was it? Camping around the sanctuary, eating manna coming from heaven, living in continuous contact with the divine presence, all of that would vanish. They would have to fight battles, maintain an army, create an economy, farm the land, worry about the weather and their crops, and all the other distractions that come from living in a real world. What would happen to the closeness that they felt? What would happen to all of that kumbaya that they had been enjoying in the desert since they left Egypt? They would just become another nation like all the other nations with the same set of economic, social, and political problems that all countries have to deal with. So Menachem Mendel Schneerson says their problem is they were afraid of success and the subsequent change that it would bring about. As the Midrashic phrase said, what's happened to them is that they've enjoyed living in higher worlds, but God, in fact, wants them and us to live in the lower worlds. One of the great differences between Judaism and other world religions is that while other religions often seek to lift people up to heaven, Judaism seeks constantly to bring heaven down to earth. Much of Torah is about things that conventionally would not seem terribly spiritual at all. Labor relations, agriculture, morning and evening dinner, welfare provisions, what are appropriate and inappropriate loans, how do you get out of debt, land ownership, and so on and so on. You know, it's not really difficult to have an intense religious experience on top of a mountain, or wandering around in the desert, or at a monastic retreat, or at an ashram, or sitting for 7 days silent. You're gonna have some strange experiences. Most religions have holy places and holy people who live far removed from the stresses and strains of ordinary life. About this, there is nothing unusual at all, but that is not the Jewish project, the Jewish mission. God wanted the Israelites and us to create a human society, a model society, but a human society where people were not treated as slaves, where rulers were not worshiped as demigods, where human dignity was respected, where law was applied impartially to rich and poor alike, where no one was destitute, no one was abandoned in isolation, no one was above the law, and no one was outside the law. No one lived in a morality-free zone. All of that requires economy, police, defense, fields and flocks, labor and enterprise. In all of these in Judaism, these become not just the ordinary distractions of a spiritual life, but the way to bring the divine presence into the shared spaces of our collective experience. So maybe our ancestors did not want to leave the wilderness, and that's why they said things were so horrible. They did not want to just become another bunch of working stiffs. They did not want to lose their unique life in the reverberating silence of the desert, far removed from civilization and its discontents. Everyone who's ever been to a Sukkot retreat knows how that feels. They did not want to let go of the intimacy and the innocence of living outside of time and outside of history, which was the experience that they were having right now. Ultimately, the spies feared freedom and the responsibilities that come with freedom. But Torah is all about the responsibilities of freedom. Judaism is not a religion of monastic retreat. It is a religion of engagement, engaging with the world, engaging with humanity. God chose Israel to make his presence visible in the world, not to draw us out of the world so that we might see God. Therefore, Israel must live in the world. It maintains, as it says in the Mishnah, Torah study without an occupation will in the end fail and lead to sin. So perhaps it was the fear of freedom and its responsibilities that led to the sin of the spies. There's something noble about the experience of spirituality unfettered by ordinary life. We've all tried it at some point. We've all had those moments of experience, times when we've stood on a mountaintop, times when we've been alone in a forest, or we've been at the crashing shores of the sea and we felt that transcendent power. But there's also something profoundly irresponsible about becoming a beach bum or a mountain bum or a forest bum. The spies demoralized the people, and because of that, it provoked God's frustration. The Jewish project, the Torah, the constitution of the Jewish people under the sovereignty of God, is not about retreating from society. It's about building a society that honors our human dignity and freedom, that it will one time lead to the world saying of us, as it says in Deuteronomy, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. It's proved hard lately. We find instead that many of our people, half the Jewish population in the world, is roundly condemned. They are accused of terrible, terrible things. And it is frustrating for us to see them doing what any ordinary nation does and to be accused of being exceptionally evil, of insatiable cruelty. But the Jewish task is not to fear the real world, but to enter it, grapple with it, as we are said to grapple with God, and to transform it, healing some of its wounds and bringing to places often shrouded in darkness, at least the fragments of divine light, at least a glow to light the darkness. It is not yet fully realized. We've been at this project for 3,000 years, and there are so many things yet undone. But it remains our project, our unique project as Jews to this day until the coming of the Messiah. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So it's time for our announcements, and that puts us in a very peculiar position because the person giving the announcement is now going to be leaving us. I want to invite up Deb Fripp as part of the Fripp family, who is going to share announcements with us. And at the end, we're going to do something remarkable after we do the Mishnah Barak. You're not going to get to go down, but the other two have to come up. All right?
All right.
So you go ahead and do the announcements.
Thank you, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for coming. As always, welcome to our guests. If we have any, I know there's a bunch of faces I don't know. That doesn't mean you're new. We haven't been around in a while. We have a couple of announcements. The annual members meeting on June 14th at 7 p.m. That's a Monday, I believe. It's a Monday. It will be held here at the Shoal. All members of CKA are welcome. The meeting will cover the election of new officers and directors, the approval of the 2021-22 fiscal year budget, and any other business raised by the members as you wish to raise it. The rabbi, I assume, is holding 3 free classes, A Taste of Judaism, exploring
Got it? No, that's it. Here.
exploring a modern Jewish take on spirituality, values, and community. Our classes are dynamic and interactive. Our teacher is accessible, engaging, and virtually impossible to offend. If you've never taken a class with the rabbi, I highly, highly recommend it. If you have friends or family who would like to attend, we are holding 2 program sessions, each session made up of 3 meetings. One occurrence that will be happening in June and one in July. You can get all the details and sign up for it on our wonderful website run by our wonderful Bob, who is somewhere around here, behind the wall. CKA is holding another blood drive on Sunday, June 13th from noon to 4 p.m. They do ask you to sign up ahead of time to reserve a spot. I assume this is also on the website, the sign up.
Yes.
We hope you have a chance to join us and help out at this great community event. And finally, Tom Thumb was kind enough to donate leftover food items from Passover to us. After services, you're welcome to look in the boxes in the kitchen and see if there are any items you would use. Anything we have left over will be donated to the JFS or the local food bank.
I know that we don't generally anticipate the apocalypse, but just in case it's coming, everyone should take at least one case of matzah. Because it will last forever.
That's what I say, you know this stuff's not gonna go bad.
It's not gonna go bad.
Between now and
We'll
next
carry
year.
it for weeks.
We did have one box
Yes?
go bad.
Did you really?
Oh, my
Yes.
goodness.
You didn't need to share that, Kathy. That was oversharing.
Does anybody else have any announcements? Okay, as always, you can find the specific details for these announcements and anything else you might need on the congregation website. And as is our custom at Kol Ami, we end our announcements with a Misha Barach. I'm going to read the list of names that are here, and then I'll look around for anybody else who has additional names. So may the one who blessed our ancestors also bless Harry Anthony, Natalie Bovino, Mehak Berza, Karen Buchsbaum, Maxine Collins, Sandy Cook, Dave Cook, Jerry Dietz, Robin Dennis, Jeanette Dubrow, Pat Ducar, Gordon Ellison, Brenda Irwin, Tammy Ferris, Debbie Freed, Michelle Griffith, James Hart, Ken Hirschman, Jody Hoffman, Deb Kaufman, Lauren Koenig, Sandy Lenzer, Karen Moore Kanakoli,
Kennicoli.
Violet Neff Helms, Herbert Paley, Paul Redwood Jr., Sandy Garber Rubin, Adrienne Sandler, and Myra Schusler. Anybody else have names? Go ahead.
Thomas Epstein.
Yeah, Perkins and Kent Wallace.
Okay, Kathy,
Howard and Joyce.
go ahead.
Joseph Rodenberg.
Anybody else over here? Over here? Yes,
Steve Sent and Archie Britt.
go ahead.
Sue Berger, Howard Hall, Tom Holliday, Marion Kaplan, Mike Johnson, Jeff Hill, Mike Gorney, Terry Jefferson, Shirley Hayden, and Earl Paxton.
Okay. Do you have any?
Barb and Ken Didburner.
Okay. Walt Starr. Okay.
Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe berachim otenu, mekor havracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Well, as I said, you don't get to leave. You two come on up. All right. And Esther will give you a special platform so that everyone in the congregation can see you. Come on up here, my dear. Here we go. Almost your mother's height now. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this family has been a part of the CKA community for 2 decades.
21 years.
21 years. I actually remember the first time you came. I pulled into the parking lot, and the first thing I noticed was your Massachusetts license plate. And I said to me, oh, they're lost. You know, when I think of antipodes in America, it's not Texas versus California or Texas versus New York. It's Texas versus Massachusetts. But you know what? unlike the spies, you entered this new promised land with the spirit of Caleb. You were ready to find your way around. All you needed was a Jewish community to connect to. And oh, did you connect. You guys have been so, so important to our community. Deb, you've held so many offices in the congregation. You've delivered our annual evolution sermon. You have kept me honest with my science and my assumptions, and you're wonderful with that. And Michael, you have been a teacher with that most important spark, which is that no lesson is diminished by having something burst into flames. Yes. Right? Always creative, fun, and delightful. You've taken joy in your Jewish lives. And I think I can speak for everyone to say that you've brought us joy by having you here as part of this community. And so it is. We begin with these words. And I ask you all to read the indented parts. In a spirit of solidarity, tinged with sadness, we bid farewell to our friends today. For years, our congregation has been their spiritual home. Here they have gathered with loved ones and friends. In this sanctuary, we have shared life's sacred moments, sorrows and joys, Sabbaths and holy days. We are thankful for the times we have spent together, for support and friendship we gave and received. Their absence from our midst will leave our community poorer, even as their presence among us has left us enriched. They take with them our hope for future reunions. A warm welcome will always await them here. And they take with them too our fondest wishes for health and achievement in the years ahead. May they be blessed in their new neighbors and friends, and may they strengthen the community in which they will soon join. May the source of all blessings bless their endeavors. May they find contentment in their new home. Go forth in peace and arrive in peace, and may God's Spirit accompany you now and always. Shalom Chaverim, Litraot. We send a fond farewell with an acknowledgement, Litraot. May we see you all soon again. And let us all say Amen. Amen. We're going to miss you guys.
Thank you. It was beautiful.
And in absentia, hugs to Rebecca and to your eldest son. So, yes. All right. All right, folks. On that note, it's time for us to close out our service. I invite you to turn to page 586. 586. So just out of curiosity, does Nathan have any desire to return to Texas when he's off class in Colorado? Zero. Okay. Now I know where we stand. Okay. I'm sorry. I get it completely. Page 586. Please rise if you're able, ladies and gentlemen. The middle of the page. Aleinu b'shamei Adonai kol, l'teikir la'yotzer b'reshit, shelo asan k'b'rei ha'aratzo, v'lo samanu k'mishpatot Adonai, shelo asan k'elkeinu k'hem, v'gor aleinu k'kol amonam. V'anachnu korim u'mishtacharim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. 588. Shehu notei shamayim ve'yosed haaretz u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim b'ma'am u'shkinatu zo Elohei Meromi U'Eloheinu Eino Emet Ki Adonai hu Elohim, bashamayim v'gam, ve'al haaretz Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. We continue now to honor those who have passed away in our community and those that we appreciate. Still, though dead, they are like the living to us. Page 595. There are stars up above, so far away that we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. And but the stars that light up the darkest nights, these are the lights that still guide us as we live our lives. And these are the way we remember them. We turn now to page 598, and I read our list. I begin with Shiva. Is there anyone who has lost a loved one in the last week? No one was reported to the congregation. Please. Thank you. Is there anyone observing Shloshim? Anybody who's lost someone in the last month? Yes. Thank you. Here in our congregation, we think of these people connected to our community: Sally Cohen, Leo Davis, Marlene Kalman, Josephine Merrill Loss, Heidi Merkler, Jack Potash, Harriet Selensky, Mark Stevens, and Dorothy Fox Weisberg. Is there anyone else observing a yahrzeit, an anniversary of death? We remember all these people, and we hope that those who appreciate them and love them enjoy their memory in ever-growing sweetness as the years pass. We show our sympathy for them by rising together and reciting Kaddish on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chai echon uv'yom echon, uv'chayei d'chol beit Israel, v'galal v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayil aleinu ve'almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, v'yitale, v'yitalal, shmei d'kutsha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba mim shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Osei shalom b'mroma, hu yatzei shalom, aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the source of peace, who make peace in places far beyond our understanding, make peace for those who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated, everyone. All right. I believe our closing song is Esa Enai. That is Psalm 121. You'll find it on the top of page 643. I lift up my eyes to the mountain. From where does my help come? It comes from God, maker of heaven and earth. Esai.
Oh shamayim haaretz, esainai el harim, meyain yamo ezri, esainai el harim, meyain yamo ezri.
Well, Tanya, you've made it to almost to the end of your second leadership. We really think you're doing a great job. Very impressed. So are you done, or you think you could do Kiddush?
I'll do Kiddush.
You'll do Kiddush.
I'll wear this.
All right. It's like an encore. All right, ladies and gentlemen. You ready?
Baruch
atah
atah
Adonai,
Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratza banu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinkilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehillah למקראי קודש, זכר לציון מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen.
L'chaim.
Amen.
That's right. All right. Now, I have here our challah, and of course, though we don't have a formal oneg because we're still maintaining COVID restrictions. By the way, be sure to go home and have your own glass of wine or juice in order to fulfill the blessing you just recited. But we've got here ho-hos and mini cakes and mysterious Korean marshmallow cookies and all kinds of things for you to choose from. You're going to help with that. Ladies and gentlemen, Baruch atah Adonai, Inu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.